The light of the bar flickered through the dim space, casting a sultry glow over the room. Ryan, who was sat in the VIP section, was surrounded by her close circle of friends. She was wearing a tight black dress that hugged her figure perfectly, looking like a captivating vision in the midst of the crowd. She took a sip from her drink as she laughed and chatted with her friends. Myra, so how is it going with your husband? One of her friends asked with a suggestive tone. Is he taking good care of you? Wine laughed and swirled the drink in her glass, taking a sip before responding. It's going great, she said with a smile. He is the perfect husband, always taking care of me and spoiling me. Sarah, another friend, chimed in with a shiver. Sarah, is not Jungkook just too cold and dominant? She asked, her voice quivering slightly. I mean, he's the powerful mafia king, and whenever I see him, I can't help but feel a little intimidated by his presence. She chuckled at her friend's comments and said, Van, Jungkook may be cold and dominant to everyone else, but when it comes to me, he's totally sweetheart. Her friends looked at her with a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Myra, are you serious? One of her friends asked skeptically. Jungkook, the ruthless mafia king, is sweetheart with you. Myra, yes, I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. When we are alone, he is different. She took another sip of her drink, a hint of affection in her eyes. He dotes on me and goes out of his way to make me happy. Sarah, see, look at her smile when she talked about him. Ah, you are totally in love with him. She teased Ryan. Ryan laughed at her comment. Ryan, you can say this. Whenever he look at me, I fall deeper for him. She blushed while saying this. They all chuckled at her, Myra sipping her drink with a slight pout. Groaned Myra. Where do I find a man like Jungkook for myself? He sounds too good to be true. Sarah chimed in, nodding in agreement. Sarah, seriously, a dominant mafia king who dotes on his wife. I would pay to see that. Sarah, talking about guys, Vine looked at that man, how he is looking at you continuously. She pointed behind Vine. She looked at man from her shoulder. Sarah, he's not bad looking either. He was indeed attractive, and when their eyes met, he smiled at Vine in a way that sent a strange shiver down her spine. Vine chuckled, shrugging off the attention from the man at the bar. Vine, oh, him? She sighed, glancing down the man again. He's alright, I guess, but trust me, Jungkook is 100 times hotter than him. Plus, he's my man. She took another sip of her drink, a hint of possessiveness in her voice. Myra, lucky you having such a hot and dominant husband. One of them said with a pout. We could only dream of having someone like Jungkook. The night went on, and her friends and mine continued to enjoy themselves. As they chatted and laughed, a waiter approached them, delivering another glass to wine. She took the glass without a second thought and thanked the waiter, unaware of the sinister events that were about to unfold. She took a sip from the drink, but something felt off to her. The taste was slightly unusual, and a nagging feeling of unease crept on her. However, shrugging it off, she continued drinking, convincing herself that it was just her imagination. Vine forced a smile and tried to keep up appearance, making a joke to her friend. Vine, hey, you know what they say about alcohol, right? It makes you prettier. Her friend chuckled at her attempt at humor, but a slight slur began to creep into her words. Vine's mouth felt dry, and her head started to spin. It was getting harder to focus on her friend's conversation. She excused herself for a moment, saying she needed to go to the restroom. Sarah, you have been drinking a lot tonight. Maybe I should come with you to the restroom? Vine, I have only had 2 glasses. I'll be fine, she slurred, steadying herself against the table. I just need a moment alone in the restroom. I'll be back soon. She gripped the table for support, her legs feeling heavy and unsteady. She sweat slightly as she made her way towards the washroom. Her vision was beginning to blur, and her head was spinning. She stumbled into the washroom, shutting the door behind her and leaning heavily against it. She steadied herself against the sink and turned out the cold water, splashing it onto her face in an attempt to clear her head. The cold water felt refreshing against her flushed skin, but it did little to ease the growing dizziness and confusion. She leaned heavily against the sink, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The room was spinning around her, and her thoughts were becoming hazy. Vance, what the hell? She mumbled to herself, wondering why her head was spinning so much. I only drank 2 glasses. Something's not right with my drink. She took a moment to compose herself and splashed cold water on her face once more, trying to clear her head. Her hands shook slightly as she turned off the faucet and made her way out of the washroom. She leaned against the wall for support, feeling more unsteady on her feet than ever before. Just as she stepped out of the washroom, she was suddenly grabbed from behind and pulled into a secluded room. She stumbled, her legs clumsy and uncoordinated, as she was roughly pushed onto the bed. The room was dimly lit, and her vision was too hazy to make out who had snatched her. Her hazy and blurry eyes widened in recognition as she saw the man from the bar standing before her. He had a cold, sinister smile on his face, and he surveyed her wink and stared. The fear that had been growing inside her intensified, but her tongue was too heavy to form a coherent protest. The man approached Van, his steps measured and deliberate as she crept closer to her. He leaned over her, his eyes raking over her body with a peradventure gaze. "You're literally a beauty," he drawled, a sinister smile playing on his lips. "I guess my drink worked."